It's hot summer nights, can't breathing again. Young core on the rise, yeah, the window kicking in. New faces in the club, out same hunger, same grind. Every pitch, every swing, yeah, they locked in time. From the bullpen to the bats, it's a problem this year. Whole league looking up like, yo, they really here. The crowd start rumbling, feel it in your chest. This ain't hype, nah, this is real success. Every episode fire, every take cuts deep. If you talk goes baseball, this the place to be. Big Town Sports, hey. On the stadium lights, crab cakes, hot takes, all summer nights. Big Town Sports, hey. When the city roars, best up and coming Orioles podcast, what you waiting for? From first pitch to the last out, we don't miss a beat. Breaking down the roster, yeah, we living in the tweet. Front office cooking, team built to last. This ain't just potential, nah, this team's built fast. October in the distance, you can feel that pull. Every night at the yard, got the place packed full. If you bleed orange and black, yeah, you already know. Big Town Sports, don't let the whole world know. Remember the name.
What's going on, everybody? It's been some time since we've been on. We've got some things to talk about tonight. Obviously, we need to evaluate if Mike Elias has kind of lost that steam that he had going early on. Things had looked like they were really on the up and up. The beginning of this offseason this year, I think pretty much everybody in Baltimore was excited, but everybody knew they needed a top-of-the-rotation guy, and so far, some of these guys have kind of slipped out of the fingertips of Mike Elias. Now, I'll be kind of upfront with you automatically. I don't think that he's dropped the ball, so to say, because most of the offseason has been pretty good. Top-of-the-rotation guy has eluded him a little bit. It has for a couple of years, and there's plenty of reasons for concern. And I'm not going to push back on anybody that has those concerns. But for me, I think it's still been pretty decent enough. I mean, if we look off what we started with, he was aggressive very early for Taylor Ward. He was aggressive, and he brought in Andrew Kittredge back via the trade. Basically, kind of got him back for not a whole lot, which is really great. Was aggressive on Ryan Helsley. Got to the winter meetings, and he landed Pete Alonso in a bidding war with Boston, which I thought was great. And then kind of out of the blue, all of a sudden, it was a Shane Baz trade. So, again, things were really kind of looking up early and fast, way faster than we've ever expected. Quite honestly, probably the best offseason we've had in decades, maybe since that 2014, 2015 time range. It's been a long time, man. Things were looking good, and then it just got, stagnant and just stale. And I don't know if, From what I do know is they were all hands on deck, all hats in the ring. They wanted Ranger Suarez. That was their guy, and maybe this is a little bit of fault to them. I don't think they paid attention enough to anybody else. They thought that they had Ranger in the bag. Missed out on Ranger Suarez. Definitely sucks, but now they had to try and pivot. There were some guys that were available in the trade market. Freddie Peralta was available, Mackenzie Gore. For some stupid reason, Tariq Skubal is available. You've heard grumblings of Hunter Green, Edward Cabrera. There's been some guys that have been moved that, maybe we were in on. Now, did they choose Shane Baz over all of these guys? I can't personally answer that question, but it's possible. It's possible. Maybe they and their evaluators just thought that Baz was the best guy. I don't know. But let's look at Freddie Peralta. So Freddie Peralta goes to the Mets, right? And he goes there for Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat. And when you look at it, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that Sproat was the number 5 prospect in their org, and then Jet was 2 or 3, which I believe he was also a top 100. But it's kind of a lot for a 1-year rental. Now, New York being New York, they have a lot of money. They spend a lot of money, and they already have a pretty good team. The chances of them extending him are fairly high. And I would probably say they were probably higher than Baltimore's. Because right now, let's be honest, is Baltimore yet still a destination that people want to go play in for years? I think maybe in 23 and 24, you probably could have started to make that argument. And then they failed last year. It was ugly. And they've completely started over this year. When you're a top of the rotation guy like Freddie coming into a contract season, are you gambling on all of that working out and taking a multi-year deal? compared to New York. Now, New York also didn't play the best that they normally do last year, but they spend a lot of money. They've got some superstars they are already kind of locked up. It just kind of makes sense. But, if you're the Orioles, were you willing to give up your 2 and 5 prospect? Now, 2 being Dylan Beavers, who's also arguably a top 100 player. So for a 1-year rental, yes, Freddie Peralta would have changed this rotation phenomenally. Probably would have made us one of the favorites in the AL. Not arguing that whatsoever. But if you go back to that Corbin Burns situation where he doesn't take the extension there, okay, now you got Dylan Beavers, who potentially, we all, I think, pretty much agree that we think he's going to be a pretty damn good player in this league. So that would suck to lose out on him for a guy that didn't want to sign an extension. So that one didn't work out in our favor. You would have loved to maybe get him for some other pieces, but listen, you got to pay to play in this league right now. And when there's competition like this, the O's at the time didn't have the organization and the depth in the minor leagues to compete with teams like the Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees and stuff like that. Now with some of these newer additions being added in the top 100, they do have some more firepower, but the teams have to want your guys. That's the big thing. So, and not every system's the same. Now maybe Dylan Beavers is ranked higher than Jet, or certain things, right? Maybe Milwaukee valued Beavers more than Jet, but they got what they got. Now, Tobias Myers also went back in that trade. He's a former Orioles draft pick, I believe in 2016. He's been shipped around a good bit through trades. A lot of people seem to like the guy, but we missed out on Freddie. It sucks. Thankfully, it was an NL team, but I definitely think Freddie would have put this team in a position that nobody else in the AL would have been prepared for, but they missed out. And Freddie would have been great. He's had some great numbers. Last year was an exceptional year. He seemed to get stronger as the season went on. The K rates and the whiff rates got astronomical in September. He just literally kept getting better. And that's kind of the guy you needed. But again, are you willing to lose Dylan Beavers for a guy who might not sign an extension yet? Now, if you would have, I'm not saying that he wouldn't have signed an extension here, but the pieces are here, but just when you're looking at it from the outside in, everything's a what if right now for the Orioles. Do you want to jeopardize your future on a bunch of what ifs? Because what if they don't pan out like we think they are? So I kind of understand it. It does suck. But today's news, Mackenzie Gore goes over for five prospects. And they are, the Nationals get back Gavin Feen, Devin Fitzgerald, Alejandro Rosario, I'm not understanding that first name, Abimelech Ortiz, and Yermi Cabrera. That was all top 20 guys in the Rangers system here. And the Rangers weren't even a team that you were linked to. Hey, my favorite, my resident dislike person just came through. How you doing? I love you. Appreciate the engagement. But look, Feen was last year's 12th round pick, and apparently Boston loved him. And the guy from Boston went to the Nationals. He went and made sure he got his guy. So again, it goes back to teams have to want your guys. We could have offered Kobe Mayo all day long, but if a team doesn't want Kobe Mayo or have a need for him, what good is he? At that point, it doesn't even matter if he's a number 1 overall prospect. If they don't have room for him, they're not going to take him. Obviously, they would have the number 1 overall prospect. But you get my point here is they got to have room and they got to have a need. So I seen this from Steve Molesky here. And if you guys aren't following Steve's been covering baseball for the Orioles for a really long time. And I highly suggest you either follow his Substack or his Twitter. This is just context. It's not always like this. I do believe that the Orioles, their minor league system was better than Texas, probably by a good bit. But Texas gave up the number 2, 6, 12, 16, and 18th prospects. Now for us, that would have been Dylan Beavers, Esteban Milla, Braxton Bragg, Keeler Morphy, and Luis De Leon. That's 4 pitchers. 4 pitchers. And like Steve says, in a case where it works out for 4 pitchers, that's a wild no for me. Obviously, ours being better, they probably could have got away with a lot I shouldn't say a lot, but less of these guys, and especially in those positions. It sucks, but again, was Gore worth that from the O's standpoint? Gore's been good. He's got high K rates. He always starts the season off really well. He's young. I don't believe the Nationals really had anything in place that made him better. Obviously, something new there. Texas, I think, is going to unlock him. He's going to be just fine down there. They seem to be very, very good with arms down there. But if you're the Orioles and you look at this, and we don't know if they contacted the Nationals. We've heard they did. We don't know their asking price. If it was this is obviously a hard no for me too. Like, that's all of a no-brainer. Like, Gore hasn't done enough to warrant that from me if I'm associated with the Orioles. You know, his second half, he seems to, and it wasn't just in 2025, he always seems to fall off in the second half. Now, can you withstand that? That's the big thing, is can you take that 5-6 ERA in the second halves when he gets tired and whatnot, like, for a guy that you're expecting to come in to be a top of the rotation guy. Now, granted, he's still younger. Coming to a new team might get him in better shape or whatnot. Those are all things that remain to be seen. But me, I'm not giving that up for Mackenzie Gore. That's just completely me, though. It's a tall asking price. And would he have helped? Yeah, I think he definitely would have helped. There's no questions there. But again, it comes back to how long he can help. Can he stay healthy? You know, what are you getting out of him in the second half? The dog days of August and, late in September when it's starting to ramp up and you're in Yankee Stadium, like, are you giving a guy who's given up 4 or 5 runs an outing? Like, those are things you got to kind of take into consideration here. And like I said, it wasn't just last year. It's been multiple years. So you have to kind of evaluate that and see who you're sending back in return. Now, the control for Gore was a big thing. And obviously being left-handed was also another big thing. But, it is what it is. And I spoke on the prospects a little bit. So the new recent top 100 prospects did come out. The Orioles did have 5 guys, Basayo, Beavers, Trey Gibson, Nate George, and Luis De Leon. I can promise you Aaron Estrada was probably right there, maybe just outside between that 110, maybe 115 range. You can probably make an argument for Esteban Milla as well, was probably pretty close. So the Orioles are on that fringe range of probably maybe having 7 guys. But I mean, I think I saw from Steve too, the Orioles have had like 5+ since like 2022, which is good because they keep churning out major league talent. But they also have guys available if they want to go and make more trades. Now that you have multiple guys in the top 100, these teams can see that. Obviously, they have their own internal scoutings and whatnot. But now they see some of these names and they start to kind of look at their notes and stuff. Now that maybe that brings a trade opening for Sandy Alcantara. And I know that's probably on the lower end there, but what if Cincinnati starts to maybe fall in love with 1 or 2 of these guys and they make Hunter Green available? I doubt it, but you never know. Tariq Skubal all of a sudden, if you package him with, Kobe Mayo, maybe Jackson Holiday, like who knows? They fall in love with 1 or 2 of these guys. Obviously, I think Basayo's off for everybody. But I think we can all agree, if we landed Tariq Skubal and got an extension out of that, I think we would part our ways with Dylan Peavers. But, it's there's a lot that you can still do, and the fact that they do have these top 100 guys now available leads me to think that they have talent. Obviously, they have one of the I would say maybe a top 10 farm system right now, especially after these rankings, where you can go and acquire somebody maybe we're not even thinking about. Like Shane Baz was a guy that we weren't thinking about. Is anybody available that we haven't heard of? That's the biggest question. I've always kind of beat the drum a little bit for Jose Soriano. Is he a number 1? No. I think his ceiling is probably a 2, though. If not, he's a 3. I think that helps the rotation at this point. But who else is really available? I mean, yeah, there's Zac Gallen. Yeah, there's Chris Bassett. Yeah, there's Lucas Giolito. Yeah, there's Framber Valdez. I mentioned Hunter Green. I mentioned Skubal. Do I really think those 2 are available? Probably not, but there's somebody else out there that no one has spoken about, we've heard about, we've been linked to, nothing. They have a ton of prospects. You got Boston Bateman, who nobody's really mentioned in a while. Teams really like him. A 20-year-old lefty that pretty much a power lefty. Braxton Bragg is coming back. You got Zach Fruit who throws upper 90s. You got Levi Wells. You got Aaron Estrada. Like, got a lot of really good talent down here that you could move to acquire some pieces. Now, do they? I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't want to make this sound like it's a failure, right? The Orioles were 9th in spending last year. Now, maybe that they wasn't maybe the best players in the world, but you know what? They spent money. They got in the top 10. They're currently ranked 6th as of right now. So again, they're spending, and they've spent a little bit of money on one pitcher, Zac Eflin. I know that doesn't move any needles for anybody, but the money's moving finally. So we have to kind of take that in consideration for a little bit with Mike. And honestly, let's be honest with ourselves here. This is the very first time that Mike Elias in his career has been able to go toe-to-toe with some of the big boys. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Mets, the Cubs. These teams that constantly, and even Boston, these teams that constantly spend every single year, we're jumping in that pool this year. If it's a one-year deal, I don't know. But I can't sit here and expect him to know how to get and navigate these waters when he's never done it before. Now, is that a fault for the Orioles for hiring him? I don't want to say so. It's a first-time thing. It's the first time the Orioles organization has really been allowed to do this in almost 10 years. So I'm not expecting him to have the experience to kind of come in and just blow the doors off of these guys and seal the deal and get them to want to come to Baltimore just because we have money. Like, yeah, money's a big deal, obviously, but if you look at what the Dodgers are doing with Kyle Tucker, you give him a $64 million signing bonus. He's playing on a $1 million salary. Why is he doing that? He's not doing that for any other team. He wasn't going to do that for Chicago. He wasn't going to do that for Houston. He wasn't going to do that for Boston. He wasn't going to do that for the Mets. Why? Because the freaking Dodgers, 1, they win. 2, their culture is freaking outstanding. And 3, they're probably just the best organization in professional sports. Let's be honest with ourselves. They do everything right from the ground up, and guys want to go play there. And they'll skew their contracts all over the place just to make it work. I don't think Mike's in a position to do that yet. And he's got to go toe-to-toe with some of that stuff. He's got to go toe-to-toe with Dave Dombrowski, who, quite frankly, is not going to be outbid by somebody, And I understand Boston hasn't spent a whole lot, but Boston's still Boston. And when they want to, they will go spend money. Toronto's been throwing around some money lately. This is the first time Mike has dipped his toes in this, and I don't want to say he's failed. I think he's navigating the waters and trying to test it out and see what happens and realize maybe, they missed out on Framber, but not Framber, I'm sorry, Ranger. But that was the first miss, I guess, of this year. It sucks. But hey, he won his bidding war with Pete Alonso. Got to take a little bit with the good, with a little bit with the bad, but there's still options. There's still options here. Now, let me come through some of my notes here. So I'm making sure I don't miss anything because tonight could be it could be a long show. I wrote a bunch of stuff down, and I want to make sure I'm not missing anything for you guys. So as it is, before we even get to some of these guys that are available, the Orioles and Mac Wyrick tweeted this out just a little bit ago about F-War. And if you're not familiar with F-War is, it's basically Fangraphs' war. They kind of do it a little bit differently than Baseball Reference, but as it currently stands, the starting rotation for the Orioles has an 11.4 F-War, which ranks 18th in the majors. Now, Framber's projected a 3.7 F-War. That would push the O's to about a 15 total, which is around 5th or 6th, depending on a little bit of projections there. I think that's obviously very good. So what does Zac Gallen bring? Now, Zac Gallen's just a 2.3 F-War, but that still pushes the Orioles into the 8th or 10th range. So look, signing one of these guys allows them to go from the 18th best starting rotation projections into the top 10, potentially the top 5 if you get Framber. So if you land one of them, and I understand Zac Gallen probably isn't, making anybody excited because of the down year last year, he still brings quality depth to this organization. And that's all we need at this point. So if you got Zac Gallen to get you in that 8th to 10th range, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain at all. Would I prefer Framber? Yes. And I've said it multiple times this year. I was told the Orioles were out, that the interviews weren't that great. There was some concerns. Can I admit that maybe their backs are against the wall at this point and they're willing to admit that and maybe contact him? Yeah, I'll say that. I haven't heard anything about it, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and make anything up, but I think at this point you have to open that book again. And it just depends how aggressive you want to be. If you're content with this team and and just want to get to the deadline, then no, you don't open that book. But if you really want to try to be aggressive and go make a splash early, Framber's your guy, and you got to open that book. And, most playoff tiers, their starting pitcher F4s are between a 13.5 and a 15. Both of those guys, Framber and Zac, put you above that projected model. They put you into that strong playoff caliber team. Framber obviously pushes you a little bit more. Gallen could have an exciting rebound. This guy's been in the league for a long time, and up until, I would say, the end of 23 and through the end of 24 and through 25, he's been pretty darn good. Now, the velocity hasn't dipped. The movement hasn't really dipped. The fastball has been getting hit around a little bit, but he kind of incorporated a sinker. He brought that back into his repertoire, and he finished the season pretty strong. And I believe when I looked at it, his September and October numbers, he pitched to a 199 averaged against, which was his best month of the season. So he got stronger. The knuckle curve is still, just like Shane Baz, one of the best in baseball. So he still has something to kind of lean on. I think he got in a lot of trouble with the fastball. It was kind of flat, around 92 to 93, a four-seam fastball. It wasn't keeping anybody honest. Let's put it that way. It wasn't getting hammered, so to say. It had a 240 average against it, which doesn't sound spectacular, but he gave about 17 home runs on it. So in that essence, yeah, he was getting hammered. But when you look at the slugging, they weren't off the charts either. So the fastball, it just wasn't good enough to keep people honest on the plate. Honest enough for his changeup, which was really good, and the knuckle curve was really good. Now, if by chance he's just sore one night and didn't have one of those, he's in a pickle at that point. But that's a guy that I think that could bounce back. I would love him and Framber. I don't really know if that's even possible at this point because they have so many guys on the roster. But I'm just saying that Gallen is decent. Is he a top rotation guy that's going to set us apart? No. But he provides quality depth. Now, Framber, whole nother story. Framber kind of gives you the innings that you need. It keeps your bullpen off the field for a while, which is great. The problem with both of them is they have a qualifying offer attached. And with that, it would cost the O's their third highest pick. Now, I believe that's pick 83 this year because they traded the competitive balance pick, which is about a third-round pick. Mike early on said that wasn't a big deal to him. And if it's not, let's get it done with one of these guys. I touched on Gallen's curve, how that was pretty good. I said it was a 40% K rate. It also had a 39% whiff rate. Like that knuckle curve, nasty. Changeup, 31% whiff rate last year with a 202 average against it, and just a 240 BPAP, which is batting average against balls in play. 240, pretty freaking good. K rates have gone down almost every year with Zac Gallen. But look, the whiff rates, like I said, the BPAPs are good for every single pitch, basically. The sinker kind of helped him get on track in the second half here. I looked for a lot of signs and tipping in Zac Gallen to see what he did differently with that fastball, to maybe let guys know that was coming. I didn't see a whole lot. But that sinker, he only was able to throw it 181 times in that second half. It was something he kind of developed in that second half, but that only had a 214 BPAP against it, which is it's honestly outstanding. And I dove into Zac Gallen a little bit. So this is what you have for Zac. His percentile rankings, we'll be completely honest with ourselves here, they're ugly. The off-speed run value, as I was literally just explaining, it's good. It's above average. It's good. It's at a 5. But you can see the four-seamer only sat last year on the left side of me, left side of me here. It only sat about 93.5. So it got hit around a little bit, especially if you're throwing it 45% of the time. Now, the knuckle curve, good. All those things, very, very good. Now, it's just hard to explain. Like the cutter got absolutely demolished. The slider was actually pretty good last year. He just didn't throw it 7% of the time. Not sure why he didn't throw it a whole lot, but he didn't. But when you look at Zac Gallen, so I pulled some of the numbers against him. So on the road last year, he had a 4.69 FIP. Not great. 20% K rate, 16 of his home runs last year, and a 128 whip in 93 innings. So again, early on the road, he got pummeled. It was ugly, absolutely ugly. But when you look at teams, what he did against over 500 last year, he made 21 starts, 126 innings, had a 3.85 ERA. Again, this team's over 500, 127 Ks, 42 walks, 20 home runs given up. It's acceptable to the long ball. If he can fix that, the rest of that is pretty respectable against teams that had a winning record last year. It wasn't all completely ugly with Zac, but, it kind of levels out. So against playoff teams, I always like to look this up. And some people say this is cherry picking. I want to know what the hell my guy's going to do against teams that matter for me. Playoff teams, right? They're good teams. I want to know what the hell he's going to do. 13 starts, 4.23 ERA. 76 innings with 82 Ks. So the Ks were still working. 28 walks. So that whip right there was perfect. It was around a 1.18 whip with 12 home runs given up. So again, the long ball burnt him. Bad. But again, it wasn't horrible. It's depth at this point. I would say he's probably better than Zac Eflin, even after a down year. But, all in all, Zac Gallen's a quality move, but just not a needle mover. I think we would all be pretty glad to have Zac Gallen. Just, I shouldn't say everybody. We all know there's going to be some people out there who would absolutely hate the move, but it would provide some depth. But let's look at Framber. Framber was definitely a little bit better. His sinker, obviously, the run value on that was very good. His ground ball rate, one of the best in all of baseball. He loves throwing a sinker. His curveball, absolutely elite last year. Definitely kept guys off balance. And when you go from 94, 95 down to 79, that's same arm angle. It's very tough to pick up. So like I was talking about the elite being curveball, that curveball had a 43% whiff rate last year. 43 with a 45% K rate. Outstanding. A 298 slugging against it. Again, I just said you see it on the screen, 79.4 miles an hour. If you're gearing up for 95, you got to sit on that. Good luck. 193 average against it last year. 193. So he kept guys off balance. Now, the sinker, which he threw 45% of the time at 95, had just a 13% whiff rate. Not great. Not great. Didn't move a whole lot, but that's the pitch that gets hit around for him. Doesn't really throw a four-seam. So the sinker's considered a two-seam. Was it not moving as much last year? The numbers look like they didn't really change a whole lot from 24. He just got hit around. And I'm not really sure why. I have no answer to that one, to be completely honest with you. But let's look at Framber's on the road last year. He had a 3.66 FIP, which is pretty good. And just a 20% K rate, only 8 home runs given up, and a 1.33 whip. Framber does walk some guys. There's no sugarcoating that. At times, he does walk guys, but his ground ball rate is so elite, I don't think he cares. Because he's like, you know what? I'm not giving in to you. First base is open. Next guy, I'm going to get into a roll into a ground ball double play. That's the confidence that he has. That would play exceptional in Camden Yards and probably in the AL East, to be completely honest with you. He would definitely help this team. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Attitude issues aside, clubhouse issues aside, Framber Valdez gives you probably, outside of Freddie Peralta, the best chance to win. Now, what did he do against teams over 500 last year? 118 innings. He had made 19 starts. 3.73 ERA. Pretty good. 104 Ks to 43 walks. Again, back to that walk issue. He walks a lot of guys. But the ground ball rate's so good, he doesn't allow a whole lot of guys to score. Against playoff teams, this is where it kind of got a little ugly. 12 starts, a 4.48 ERA in 70 innings with only 56 Ks and 32 walks. It's not good. It's like a 1.5 whip. Not good at all. And most of that, I think, came in the second half. Now, Framber got kind of destroyed in the second half, and I think a lot of people looked past that. He had like a 5.6 ERA or something like that in the second half. It was ugly. Was it a lot of that because he knew he was leaving? Was it the whole catcher situation? Was it the clubhouse? I have no idea. But it was ugly. But he still gives you the best chance to win outside of Peralta in this offseason. So you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. And is there anyone else available? I didn't have time tonight, and it's probably been a 2-hour stream if I did. But there are some guys available. Obviously, they're not in the quality as Framber. And I would even put them a tier below Zac Gallen. But you got Chris Bassett, who's pretty good. you can rival Chris Bassett and Zac Gallen pretty hard. I still think Gallen kind of edges that out just a little bit. Lucas Giolito had a decent season last year. He's an okay guy. Again, Bassett is probably a step ahead of Giolito. Giolito is more of just depth at this point. Still quality arm that can get you some quality innings. He's had some injury histories over the year. There's still Zach Littell. Hopefully I said that name correctly. The reason why I like Zach Littell, he's kind of a bulldog against playoff teams. He had like a 3.16 ERA in 19 appearances against playoff teams, but he also is a reliever. Like he can pitch both. He has some prior experiences with Craig Albanese. Sandy Alcantara, I don't know how much the Marlins are looking to maybe move him at this point after moving Edward Cabrera and Ryan Weathers, but if they're going to listen, I'm going to maybe scout him pretty hard this year and see what's going on. Hunter Green, haven't heard a whole lot on him since early in the season, or early in the offseason. We heard that he was probably available. Maybe they didn't get some of the values that they thought they would get for him. But at this point, when you're seeing teams send back 5 prospects for Mackenzie Gore, if I'm the Reds, I'm at least peeking at what I could get. I don't know about you guys. I haven't been able to answer this myself just yet. If I would send Trey Gibson for Hunter Green. Hunter Green, I need to look it up. I don't remember how many exact years he has left, but I believe it's over 3. He's a free agent 29. So we got 26, 27, 28, 29. So you got 3 years of him. I think I would send Trey Gibson for that, even though Gibson's a guy I think is going to really help the team. There's pretty much anybody on the Pirates. Jared Jones, if he comes back healthy. Bubba Chandler would be very hard to acquire, but that's a guy that could really help. I know Mitch, I'm blanking the last name right now. Nobody really likes him so much. Again, I kind of put him in that Zac Gallen role where he helps. Mitch Keller, sorry. I think he helps, but I don't know if he really makes you jump off the board. I think he could give you a solid like 3.9 to a 4 ERA in the AL East, and I think that's respectable. The question would just be who do you trade for at that point? But there's people available that I haven't even mentioned tonight, or anyone has mentioned. Like, and then you get to a point too where maybe what if somebody starts off like the Orioles did last year, just sucked. Right. And they pack it in after May, right? Maybe you acquire somebody in June or something early on. You basically just got to get to the deadline with this roster. And I think this roster is good enough to do that. I would still prefer, and I think we all agree, we would all prefer one guy to kind of be there early on, getting his mix in and try to really jump out to some kind of lead here. Because the AL East, look, it's not going to be easy. Toronto, I know they lost out on some guys, but they're still going to be very, very freaking good. The Yankees are running it back with the same team that was the best offense in baseball last year. They're still going to be very, very good. They're getting Garrett Cole back eventually, Luis Gil back eventually. There's a lot of guys that they could make a run. Boston is a lot like the Orioles in a sense of the offense. Their pitching staff is great. They're going to be one of the best in the league this year. If they get a little bit more than expectations out of their offense, they're going to be probably a top 3 team in the AL. But again, like I said, just like the Orioles, there's a lot of what ifs in that offense. Like, what if their young guys don't perform well? What if there's an injury? We have the same what ifs. What if they don't perform? And, what if they do? Like, both teams, I think, have a lot of what ifs, but I'm not sleeping on Tampa. It's the AL East, man, and Tampa every year is quiet. They don't make a whole lot of moves, but they just seem to freaking be in it for a while. They just seem to be in it for a while. I have no idea why. But Tampa's a team that could beat you or split the season series with you, that could hurt you late down in the year. Like, Tampa's a good ball club. The East isn't going to be easy. And I would love for the Orioles to be just a touch more aggressive. And if that has to be Framber Valdez, so be it. So be it. Clubhouse issues or not. And look, I'm a big guy on team chemistry. And I know some people say that team chemistry doesn't mean much. guy only pitches one every fifth day, fifth day. I disagree a little bit. Team chemistry is everything. I can promise you that 2023 team that won 101 games, they didn't win it because of just, rainbows and wishes, right? That was team chemistry at its finest. They all had along. The clubhouse was immaculate. Just every day they wanted to be there, and it kind of slowly faded. And we saw last year there was some talented team. There was that talented team last year in Baltimore, and they sucked. There's no sugarcoating that. They sucked. Team chemistry is a big deal, man. And why are the Dodgers good, right? You could pay for your championships. Well, the Dodgers also have really, really, really good team chemistry. I mean, they literally almost lost the World Series twice last year by an inch. That ball hits 1 inch higher up on the wall and doesn't get lodged. The series is over. Guy takes the correct lead. IKF's 1 inch later. Series is over. Like, that super team last year would have not won the World Series off of an inch. Super teams aren't everything. So team chemistry is a big deal. You don't want somebody to come in and kind of mess with that. But I'm at that point where I'm a big believer in second chances. I think I understand Framber's 32 years old. You're probably not going to change the person that he is, but you can get them to a point where when adults realize that, like, oh, I kind of effed up. This one's on me. I got to do better. And they take that conscious effort. It's easy to kind of make mistakes when you've been somewhere for a long time. You get lackadaisical a little bit, and you kind of let your guard down a little bit, and you make dumb decisions. And I will say that Framber made an extremely dumb decision on TV. And it's cost him. I think I'm okay giving him that chance to redeem himself and show that he is a better person. But it's going to be tough. I think he deserves it. If it's not from the Orioles, it's definitely going to be from somebody. Obviously, this guy's not going to miss baseball this year. But I think overall, he's going to get something going. Hopefully, it's from the Orioles because, like we talked about it, he sets you up a lot better than anybody else. But do I think Mike is missing this offseason? I don't think so. Obviously, because if you land Framber, I would say this is still a home run offseason at this point. It's a very good offseason right now. Adding a Framber or somehow acquiring one of these other pitchers via trade, Hunter Green, Alcantara, something like that, I think also is still a home run. Zac Gallen, I think, just puts it at like a B+. I think it's still a very solid offseason if you get Zac Gallen. And look, I could be completely wrong. We all could be. The internal scouting department could say, we really love Zac Gallen. We see this that could fix him. We think he could come in here and throw to a 3.5. That's how conversations happen sometimes. Like, teams fall in love with a guy. We have no idea what the Orioles are feeling. They might really love Zac Gallen. They might really love Framber. I don't know. But I don't know. I would love for them to make a big splash on Hunter Green or Scooball somehow. I just don't see that happening. It would cause pieces. It would cost pieces that none of us really want to let go. But I mean, we've grown to love a lot of these prospects, and it's hard to let any of them go. But let's get to some of what you guys are saying, because you guys are killing it over here. 95 comments. Good mugga. All right, let's start from the top here. Laura, good evening. Appreciate you stopping in. Jackson, did my kids finally go to bed? Yes, they did. Let me switch scenes here. Did my kids finally go to bed? They did. They were fighting it for a minute there. I think they're in on Framber, just not trying to bid against themselves, says Ben Everett. You could be right. I still think that the Phillies are going to be involved, and I still think the Mets are going to be involved. And that's going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, thinking that the Mets could be involved. But look, the Mets are really trying to win, and I don't think anything bothers them to think that they're not trying to win. You know what I mean? I would be still pretty concerned about the Mets. Whoa, what is happening here? My thing went everywhere. Hold on, let me fix all this. I'm trying to dual stream here, and it's not working out. Bring that in. I'm trying to get this straight so people over on Instagram can read it all correctly. Let's see. My top 2 graded options are gone, but I don't think Framber. I guess I have to use the Verlanders. Oh God, no! Don't even bring up Verlander. I want nothing to do with Verlander. He had a great season last year. I just want nothing to do with him, and that kind of sucks because, like I said, he had a great season, but I think we're trying to get to a point where we're kind of past all that stuff now. So they got to do better. Kate Upton would do numbers in Baltimore. I cannot confirm or deny that one. Thomas says, I've decided the lack of moves is your fault. It definitely got quiet, didn't it? It definitely got quiet. And I apologize for that, Thomas. No, I don't think it's my fault. It just, I think some teams and we talked about on one of my last lives that teams got desperate. And when you get desperate, you move on quickly. And I don't think the Orioles were ready for some of these guys to be gone that fast. Gallen is available. Yeah. I think Gallen's going to be okay, but we'll see. Boris would rather shelve Framber until a team suffers an injury than let him go for a team-friendly deal. I don't think you're wrong, Linker. I don't think you're wrong whatsoever. That was their initial plans to start the offseason. And they literally said that they're okay waiting for a major injury and waiting for that 7th year early on than they were. So would they take a 1-year deal? Probably not whatsoever, but you never know. Rick says, hello friends. What's up, Rick? How does Valdez got to be feeling right now? Teams trading their farm instead of signing him. When usually the top guy, lasts the longest in free agency. Because they're trying to get every penny that they can, especially a Scott Boras client. I don't think he's feeling any bit different, but some of these teams just maybe don't want to pay him his asking price and don't want to wait. I don't think it's a knock against him. It's just kind of how it works. All those early moves were great, but without a frontline starting pitcher, this team is no better than a third in the division. I don't know if I would go that far. I think this is probably the most improved team in the AL East right now, even more than Boston, even though they got their pitching staff set up. Like, if they have a bad night, I don't think they have the offense that can kind of keep up with some of these other teams in the AL East. The Yankees are going to put up some runs. I think the Orioles are going to put up runs. I think, Toronto lost a little bit of star power on the offense, but they're still going to put up runs. Like, I just don't know if Boston can keep up. They're going to at times, but can they do it over a sustained part of the season? It would be another question. I still think the Orioles are better than a third-place team right now. Are they a first-place team? Maybe not, but they're better than a third-place team, in my opinion. We have a farm system that can land Skeens. I don't know if we do. It would take a lot. It would take Jackson Holiday and the farm system and maybe Basayo. There's no point for them to trade Skeens. It's really not. Bad for baseball, in my opinion. If he's not going into the final year, don't trade these guys. It's just, you shouldn't be trading them, period. You should stop being cheap, and you should be building around guys like Skeens and Skubal and Hunter Green and trying to go win a championship. You've got some of the best guys available, and you're trying to trade them? Like, I understand Milwaukee doesn't have all the money in the world, but dude, you just won 90-some games, 97 games last year with Peralta? You get a healthier Brandon Woodruff back. You made some moves. You guys got better. Like, why not try to make another run? Like, I know they've made these moves with Burns and whatnot and still kept winning, but dude, it's bad for baseball, man. Build around your team and go really try to make a run after it. It's crazy to me. Kind of pisses me off, really, but Chad said Orioles will be fine. A couple of moves will happen. Mike has done a nice job this offseason. I believe in him. I'm with you. Right now, a solid B+ for me. Solid B+. Framber makes it an A+. Zac Gallen probably leaves it at a B+. Maybe a B++. But they've had a good offseason right now. It definitely improved. I can't complain just yet. We all just want the arm. I want the bullpen. I think the starting rotation is good enough. Bullpen's not. I want two more stout bullpen arms, Michael Kopech and somebody else that throws near 100 mile an hour. I don't even care what their name is. Just give me somebody that throws the ball hard, because that's all you see in October is guys come out of the bullpen. You don't know their name. They're throwing 100 miles an hour, but that's what I want here. Do I think the lack of Latin players on the roster could potentially be a deterrent for some of the Latin players to sign with the O's? It's really only Basayo, maybe Cano on the roster. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, money's money at some point. I don't think guys are looking around. I mean, does it help? Maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to scoff at it and be like, no, that's definitely not a reason. It could be. Because everybody wants to kind of play with their friends and people they're comfortable with. I don't know. It could be a good point. It could be. It'd be interesting. I mean, they're trying. Obviously, they're trying in the Latin market. It's gotten better over the years. It's not going to be better immediately, but they're getting better with some of the younger guys, and we'll see. Jackson says, I trust he has a plan in at least developing one. Trey Gibson's going to be close. Levi Wells is going to be close. We'll probably see both of those guys this year. Might even see Blake Money at some point this year if he has a strong start to his season. Zach Fruit, we watched him in the Futures game last year throwing 100 miles an hour before he got hurt. Thankfully for him, it wasn't Tommy John or anything like that. So he finished the season strong last year. But there's time to get some of these arms available. We just got to see it at this point. The Orioles can't give Mayo or Heston away. What do I do there? Heston, I think, is going to start in AAA, and honestly, I think Mayo is going to start in AAA too. It's probably not going to be what a lot of people want to hear, but you're not going to bring him in the big league team and not play him. Like, he needs to have at bats. He's not going to get any better just sitting around. The bats are going to be really hard to come by. I think his best bet, if they don't trade him, is to go back to Norfolk. That's just me. We'll see what happens. Teams got to want him. A lot of teams don't have a huge need for first base or DH because they already have that in their system. So they potentially need him to kind of go down there and maybe do what Heston did, hit 13 home runs in the first month. Force your way back into the roster or to a trade, Find something. Gallen doesn't get me excited, Sean. Sadly, he does not. Gallen, I don't think gets anybody excited. I think we all understand that he's just depth, quality depth that just kind of helps you get to the trade deadline. Probably have that sixth starter. We got some guys that are probably going to be some inning limit early. He helps. Again, he doesn't move the needle for anybody, but he's quality. Steve spent a few games in the Bay Sox press box last season. Nice guy. Yeah, I actually met him there in person. We've done a couple shows together. Steve's talking about Steve Molesky. We've done some shows together. I like Steve. Steve's a great dude. If you guys ever get down to the Bay Sox, definitely look for Steve. Definitely go watch the Bay Sox. You're going to have a great team. They're going to have if you're close, definitely go watch them. What percentage would I put the O's signing of Valdez? Look, from what I was told, it would have been 0%. But backed into a wall at this point. I haven't heard anything since. I'll purely speculate. I'll say 40%. I don't think that door is slammed shut at this point anymore. Check Gallen from 21 to 24. He an obvious arm angle mechanics glitch last year. Reports say it's already fixed. The only stats that really went wrong were the ERA and hard hit rates. So yeah, Sean and I talked about this. I posted a picture. I actually asked Lance Berdowski. I don't know if you guys watched the interview with him that we did, but he covers a lot of pitching around the league, and he works for Marquee Sports, which is kind of like a Cubs thing, but he's more of like an independent guy that looks a lot of analytics and whatnot. But I asked him, I said, look, I see 3 complete different arm angles for a lot of his pitches. The knuckle curve had its own, the changeup had its own, and the fastball had its own. And it was in succession. And you could for me could clearly pick up what was coming from where it was coming out of the arm slot. And I asked Lance, I was like, do you think this is a big deal? Is this a form of tipping? Because he threw those pitches, the fastball, the knuckle curve, the changeup, in the same at bat against Fernando Tatis. And the fastball, he fouled it off pretty hard. The changeup, he barely fouled it off, but he was right on it. Like he took a daddy hack at it. It's what they call him in baseball. And the knuckle curve, No, I'm sorry. He started with the knuckle curve, put a good swing on it, and then here comes the fastball, right? So you went from change up down here a little bit to the knuckle curve to here to the fastball here. Fernando Tatis is one of the best hitters in the game, and he picked up one. He easily hit a grand slam. Like, nothing threw him off. And it was a 3-2 count. He had battled a couple of them off. It was 3-2 for a couple pitches. He was sitting red dead. Why? Because he probably knew it was coming from the arm angle. Lance didn't think it was a big deal. He's a lot more in-depth and in tune with some of the pitching than I am. But I knew me from a hitter standpoint, when I could pick up something that small and to know that quickly I need either to adjust off speed or a fastball's coming, it made my life a little bit easier. So if that's fixable, now let me kind of pause and go back to that. Zac Gallen's been doing that since 2023, 2022. Like, that's just been what he's been in his whole career. Why I asked, was it a big deal now, is because now that you have film on these guys and you see the same things over and over and over and over and over, does it become a tendency to now where you know what's coming? That was my question. Lance didn't think so, but I think maybe it did just a touch. But if that's something that you can get him to start throwing all three of those pitches out of the same angle, I think Zac Gallen could be really good again. That's just me, though. Why didn't UCNL Diaz make the top 100? I don't know. Ask Manny Machado that one. Maybe it's just not as exciting, but I'm also bummed from today. The Ravens hiring Minter was exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's been an exciting day around Baltimore. I think Framber would set this place into chaos, hopefully, but you never know. Fans want Valdez. He's a number 2. Astros had to work hard to manage his anger and anxiety after all these years and no free agent starting pitcher. Is he the guy? If he gets paid, how much will he give since he settled for less? It's a good question. It's a good question, Vanky. There's a lot that comes with Framber. And you always have to question yourself, is this guy, he led him to a lot of playoff victories. He struggled at times, but they didn't even try to keep him at all. Those always concern me just a little bit. I don't know. You know, it's just, he definitely helps. I've watched games where Framber kind of got hit around early and he still found a way to complete 6 innings and kind of keep the team in control of making at least a comeback. So I really don't know, man. I think at this point, Framber's your only option if you really, really, really wanted to set this offseason apart. But maybe Mike doesn't think that way. Maybe he's got something else up his sleeve. That's what we all have to kind of wait and see on. Joe Ryan offer a great package to the Twins. So John, I will say that I have been told that, and several Minnesota people have kind of echoed this on Twitter. They have pulled all players off the trade market. Their new minority owners came in and paid off like $500 million in debt to the owner, and their request was trade no one. They want to try to run it back with what they got and see where it goes from there. So those guys are officially off the market. And again, that has come from a lot of Minnesota people on Twitter and whatnot. The team that had as many as 3, if not 4, ace-quality starting pitchers in the 70s and early 80s had not 3 or 4 total ace-quality starters since 2000. I know. I agree. It sucks. It definitely sucks. And they developed most of those guys, too. That was the crazy part. And it's been hard to develop anybody since. Lucas Giolito could be the next Pivetta and get a Bassett for even more depth. Could. I mean, he's healthy. He's performed in his career at times. Pivetta had a great season. Really never had an outstanding season prior. Had a great season last year. So all it takes is the right guy to kind of unlock you a little bit. Any one of these guys you sign could have a fantastic season. It's just, do you want to go with another what if, or do you want to kind of go with what you know what you're getting? Assuming health-wise in this current roster, who's my 1 through 5? Bradish should be my 1. Rogers 2, Baz 3, Eflin 4, Kramer 5. I think it's pretty simple with that. Eflin could move into that 3 role because he is the veteran and he's been there and he's done it here. If he is healthy, we know how good he can be. Take a little bit of pressure off Baz. But that's what I would roll with on opening day. Thanks for doing the show tonight. I was losing my mind. I appreciate you all stopping in. I mean, a ton of you here right now. 875. I appreciate everyone. Birdland Caravan's on tonight, and you guys are here just helping out. I truly appreciate it. There's some rumors that Elias is still calling Detroit. Detroit's got some guys that are available, even if it's not Scooball. Casey Mize is pretty good. They've got some arms up there that, look, I know people hate Jack Flaherty. I don't really want Jack Flaherty, but again, he would help. Better than nothing, right? Better than nothing. Jake Riley, writer at MLB, says that Valdez checked the boxes better than the top suitors. Do you mean for the Orioles? That's from Pneumatic Brian there. Check the boxes better than the top suitors. Does that mean he checked boxes better than like Ranger or something like that, or they checked it better here for other teams? Two of Elias's top targets this offseason had the winning offer on the table from Baltimore and on the table and chose teams with more of a track record. Right. Yep. And that was Ranger. That was Ranger. Who knows, man? Who knows? Raphael says, another night, nothing about the O's. Yep. It gets quiet around here, man. It sucks. Rick said, I'm still holding out hope for Framber. Feels like we just get him. I was there with you, man. We were both holding out for Freddie. I wanted Freddie bad. Freddie would have helped this team big time. Laura says Framber is not it, but he's going to be it. There's some people that feel that way. I don't think you're wrong either. I don't understand why we didn't pursue Freddie Peralta harder. That asking price could have been astronomical. Could have been. They could have been asking for Trey Gibson and Beavers. We don't know. We probably won't know. I don't think I would trade those two for a rental, let alone one of them. But the Mets are in a position. Here's what you also have to kind of take into account too. Jet Williams, good ball player. He's 5'7" with limited power. He had the top 100 rankings in him. He had a lot of buzz around him. Is he an impact everyday big leaguer? Doubtful. Could be, but doubtful. Right? So you sold high on him. Now, Sproat, different story. Pretty good player. Pretty good return there. But you take your chance for Freddie Peralta. They shot their shot there. Backs are absolutely 100% against the wall, and it sucks. I agree with you. Rick says, I agree. If we don't get Framber, Gallen would be a good death piece. Yeah. Elias think he's playing poker where having 3 5s is better than having an ace. I wouldn't say we have 3 5s. I would say, Bradish is definitely an ace. Bradish is one of the better pitchers in the AL, and he's probably going to be on some innings limits, but he's one of the better players in the AL. Rogers last year, even if he pitches to a 3, that's damn good for a 2. If you get Boz to pitch below a 4, you get Eflin to pitch below a 4. Now you got 4 guys throwing a sub 4. That's probably going to put your team ERAs for starters right around that 8th or 9th. Like that's pretty good. Dean Kramer, you already know what you're getting out of Dean between a 3.9 and a 4.2. Like that's really good at a starting rotation. That's going to be a top 10, maybe we'll say 12 to 15 rotation as it is right now. Gallen and makes it a little bit better. Framber makes that better, a little more than a little. So, I don't think there's any 5s. I think we have a solid rotation right now. I would say that we have accumulated some 3s and 4s. I mean, Zach Eflin's not a 5, when he's healthy. Shane Boz he's young, but he's not a 5. Trevor Rogers certainly isn't a 5, so I wouldn't say that just yet. Stiggs says, should get Giolito, Bassett, Littell, make them a big move at the All-Star break. I like Gallen on a 1 year. Littell gives them a lot of options. He's good out of the pen. Pretty decent starter. He's got some sneaky numbers. Worked with Craig before. It doesn't move the needle for the fans, but he's an effective arm that's going to get the job done. he'll fall back into that of having several low end 3s and 4s. But again, if he gets you to the 6th inning with less than 3 runs given up, you should probably win that ball game. Andy J says, I want Framber, but if we get Gallen instead, I won't be mad. I think we all kind of agree with that. Because 5s are known to win tons of games in the postseason. Great plan. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just don't think we have a ton of 5s. I don't think we have a ton of them. I think Kramer is an outstanding 5 that everybody enjoys. He's one of the best 5s in the game. I mean, we can say that. Dean's great for a 5. It's when we had to use Dean as a 3. That's when we kind of ran into some trouble. But most of that was from injuries and whatnot. But if you have enough depth and Dean's your 5 or 6, I think that's pretty good, in my opinion. Gene says, this is great. Thank you. I appreciate you stopping in. We are not getting Gallen. It isn't going to be a short-term deal. There's a qualifying offer attached. He'd be better off waiting until next year and be in the market again with Scooball driving the market. He's not going to wait. He's going to take something from somewhere. It's a 3rd-round pick. Like, do those pan out? Sure. Have they for the Orioles recently? No. Like, who cares about the 3rd-round pick? It was a little bit different when they were, competitive balance picks because that was your 3rd highest. But they don't have those anymore. So who cares? See ya. If you sign both him and Framber, it's a 3rd and a 5th. Who cares? Who cares? I don't think the qualifying offer means anything to them at this point because they traded away that competitive balance pick. James says Elias is done. Doesn't want to give up any more prospects. Doesn't want to give up another draft pick. I don't know about that. I don't know. For sure he has to make a move because right now they have 16 hitters, and you can only carry 12 or 13 depending on how aggressive you want to be. So they have to make some type of move. When I don't know. It would be sooner the better. It'd be great. Framber with that sinker and cannon would be pretty nasty. It definitely would. And if Framber's a clubhouse cancer, do we really want to chance that? I've been asking myself that question the entire day. I have no idea. I have no idea. At that point, you got to put your confidence in your skipper to kind of manage all of that stuff. And everybody that's in that team in that clubhouse, get them a way that they can manage it and keep it in check. If you don't think he's qualified for it, don't bring him in. But if you have that confidence in him, let's roll. Starting to look like Elias is beginning to dig his grave. Let's not go that far just yet. It's been a solid offseason. Imagine if Framber crossed up Adley, this city would riot. They would. It's a little different here than Houston. But it's a little different here than Houston. I've been coached by Joe Espada, and Joe's a hard ass. And I can promise you that Framber got lit up by his manager after that happened. And they were professional about it. They were in the media, and they said it was a miscommunication. It wasn't a big deal. And I can guarantee you that was Joe Espada written all over it. That's on Craig to do the same thing, to where that doesn't happen the first time. But it doesn't concern me too much. Pitcher-catcher relationships are very, very weird to begin with, like very weird, to where like that might happen and they don't care because it's a love-hate relationship with each other anyway. It just looked bad on TV. Come on, O's, get that starter. I'll sign up for MLB TV for the O's again. I'm on the fence. Hey, money talks, right? Money talks. Valdez will get 3 years, $35 million. I don't know if he's going to get $35 million. He might get 3 years, but it might be like 27. I don't know. The market's kind of, I don't want to say dry, but it ain't moving. They can hold out, but I don't know. Do I think Michael Elias is waiting, or do I think he's done? I think he's evaluating a lot of options, and he's waiting to pounce for the right option. And if it's not there, I think he's content with just being done. I think he thinks that this starting rotation can get him to the trade deadline with a winning record. But I think if it's something there that pops up like Shane Baz, he's gonna jump. You're just not gonna hear about it. Just not gonna hear about it. Richard says Valdez doesn't have good postseason numbers either. Yeah, so I looked into them. Sometimes they're really good, and sometimes they're just ugly, like ugly. If you believe Elias knows Framber that most due to his Houston history, and if you believe Alvarez, in addition to veterans like Alonso, can take charge of the clubhouse, you go with Valdez. I completely agree with you. And Mike still knows people in Houston. He's probably done his homework and whatnot, and that could have been why they were out in the beginning. I don't know. Maybe they're back in. We'll have to see. Pirates are swimming in pitching talent. They have a lot of positional needs. I think they'd be a good team to talk to. 100%. If Alcantara is moved from Miami, he will now cost more than he's worth. Far more. Maybe. Depends how he starts the season. Depends when they acquire him, too. Hunter Green has a club options to 29 that would make him a free agent in 2030, so 4 years control. Sign me up, man. Check out Zach Littell's numbers. Not a bad option. I agree with you, James. 100%. Overperform many metrics? Yeah. Just sign Gallen or Valdez, period. Well, hopefully they're working on it, Mike. Hopefully they're working on it. Steven Depp says, could you see Povich being moved to the bullpen? I feel like he thrives in the first. Yes, I definitely could see that. First commenter, by the way, on Instagram. Tonight's my first Instagram stream, so I appreciate you, Steven. The Dodgers are looking to create an all-ace six-man rotation. They already have 5 aces. Why not maybe see if Tyler Glasnow is available? They don't need him, right? The money fits. I'd make a phone call. I like Glasnow. Does he get hurt? Yeah, sure, he gets hurt, but he's also really good. I'd take Glasnow. AL East is brutal, and more than a few guys on the team need to bounce back seasons. 100%. Braves, I think, are going to be a deadline seller. Philly and Mets will run away from them, maybe Strider. Some people say the Braves are still going to win that division. They think that they're expecting a big year from the Braves. Let's not forget last year we had a rebuilding coaching staff that should have been replaced at the end of 24. In the offseason, we added some of the most respected coaches. It's very true. It's very, very true. I'll give you that one, Sean. If the O's go home early again due to pitching, Elias should be fired. I think the front office probably agrees with you there, Mythos. 100%. Elias is laying low for Screwball, has to wait his arbitration to be settled. Man, that arbitration is going to get ugly. Ugly. And I completely agree with you, Richard. Still need bullpen help. Still need 2 arms. 2 100-mile-an-hour throwing arms. Got to get there. Bravori, super chat, $2. I appreciate you, dude. What do you think Framber's price tag is? I don't know. It could range from 1 year, a 1-year prove-it deal, to 3 years. He still could be holding out for 5, maybe. I really don't know. If we get him on a prove-it deal, maybe 1 for 27, 1 for 30, maybe gets it done. If you have an issue with him, you get him out of here. If you don't, maybe give him a second-year club option. I don't know. It's tough to tell because the market's been kind of stale. You've heard nothing from pretty much any of the teams. The big spending teams have kind of already bought their guys or traded for their guys. So how much more time do they have? That's the question. But how far does Gallen go in the East? I think they beat his brain in. I don't know. It's a good question. I see some of you guys following on Instagram, and I appreciate it. Jay Schultz, BR Walker. Thank you guys very much for the follows. I appreciate it. I think they're not just bidding against themselves. I agree. I think there's some still teams that are some in there from Framber. Still think Framber is the best option. He is. There's no denying that what he brings on the mound when he's on is the best option, and probably maybe arguably better than Peralta this year. It's a tough argument, but it depends on the situation. He's been the best guy. It just teams have stayed away for some reason. Winning games in April is as important as the winning in September. 100%. I think his team's good enough to win right now. A good amount of games in April, but we'll see. It's also possible that Valdez, just like Suarez, doesn't want to come to Baltimore. I didn't take that into consideration, to be completely honest with you. It's possible. Drew says not getting a top pitcher is still a fail of an offseason. I don't know if I don't know if I would call it a fail just yet. It would suck. Yeah. I don't know if I would say it's a fail just because everything else was good. You still acquired Boz. You brought in a healthy Zach Eflin who's going to help. I would knock it down from a B+ to maybe a B- if you didn't acquire Gallen or Framber. Or now, if you trade for somebody, obviously that changes that story. But going with nobody, I think knocks it down to a B-. But I think this offseason been pretty good. Jake says, trying my hardest to manifest a trade for Cole Reagans or Hunter Green. I would love either one of them. Even Bubic is pretty good. They help, man. Our farm is depleted. Our farm is, I think it's going to be top 10, I believe. They're what, the fifth most top 100 guys. And that's because most teams have 6 and we're tied with like 3 teams with 5. But they're going to be up there. Farm Simpson's going to be pretty good. Framber's not a Boris client. He's CAA. Yeah. Is he? I thought he was a Boris guy. I have to look that up. I thought he was a Boris guy. I don't remember. I thought he was a Boris guy, but Spot Rack doesn't have it just yet. Octagon. Huh. I don't know. Anyway. Well said. Very well said. PB said 19. Need to consider the game of baseball. I appreciate that. Anything from a source that last I remember, it said 1 to 2 moves. I haven't asked since. Hopefully one of those 1 to 2 moves weren't guys that moved today and yesterday, but we'll see. Orioles will be fine. Holy Ryan Ripken. I'm tired of hearing that. Did I say that tonight? I had no idea if I did. If I did, I apologize. I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be a winning baseball team, but I don't know. Do I think Harrison Bader is on the radar? He was early in the season, and then I kind of didn't hear anything else after that. His market has been very quiet, which is weird because he had a pretty good season last year, but very, very quiet. I could still see the Orioles kind of swooping in on that. I don't understand what the Orioles are waiting for to finish this offseason strong. As it stands today, this is either a 3rd or 4th place team in the AL East. Why leave things to chance? It's a good question, Justin. It's a good question. I don't know. Sometimes they seem to just kind of hit this lull where I don't want to say that like they forget the offseason's still going. I think they kind of like get so deep into their analytics and whatnot that things kind of just happen quickly around them. And then they kind of have to start over and get back into the analytics and whatnot. I don't know. Framber and Kopech would definitely help. I 100% agree with you. Both of those guys separate you at that point. Framber's an Octagon client, not a Boris client. Okay. In the Ryan Ripken show today, Ryan said that the Orioles could sign one of Valdez, Gallen, and one of Verlander, Bassett for starting pitching depth. Maybe he did know something. I don't know. He probably knows something. I mean, listen, yeah, both of those scenarios help. You need depth, especially this team. There's going to be some guys that are going to be probably some early innings limits, especially with the days off in April and whatnot for rainouts that are kind of built into the schedule. You don't want to kind of screw around with some guys, but having 6-7 guys in April doesn't hurt. So I could see it. Heston is done, says Ben Everett. I hope not. For his sake, for being as young as he is and whatnot, I hope he gets another chance to kind of get a crack at things. Will the Orioles make a move guaranteed? There's no guarantees with this front office. I ain't put my name on that one. I have no idea. Only one that'll move the needle for us at this point is Framber. I agree with you, Drew. I definitely agree with you. Everything else is kind of just depth that just helps. I don't think they'll bring anybody in that hurts the team, obviously. I don't think you'll see another Charlie Morton, but depth is going to be good for the innings and stuff. So we'll see. My heart breaks for Heston. That young man has had one bad break after. Dude, that's sports sometimes, man. It sucks. It sucks. You see a lot of good athletes. And I tell people all the time, some of the best players that I ever played with didn't make it. And they were better than guys that did. but they didn't make it. I don't know, man. I don't know. So, yeah, I feel you there. I think Heston, I just want to see him get healthy and try to play again. Natty Bobird says the Orioles will shock some people this year, even in their current state. I say the batter a bunch of teams by big score lines. Can't wait to see it. I love the optimism. I agree with that. The offense should be better. Is there any way the Orioles could get another bat, particularly an outfielder? Depends on what you want. If you want a starter, Harrison Bader. If you want a backup, it's Miguel Andujar. That's another right-handed bat that provides some pop. But the problem is right now they have 6 outfielders. They don't have a whole lot of room, so they're gonna need to figure that out. Joe says, been in hell since the start of 2026. Can we get baseball going? 2 urgent care visits, the flu, and an ER visit. Damn, man. Well, get it out of the way early so you ain't got to deal with that in the end of the year. Damn, hope everything all right, though. O should move heaven and earth to go get Hunter Green. I was reading Heaven for some reason. I have no idea. Sorry about that, Dan. I agree with you, though. Hunter Green would be fun. I think Eflin, when healthy, is the number 2. Right, a low end 2, a mid 3. Like, if you get that out of him with Bradish and Rogers, like, you're in a really good spot. Really good spot. And you know he can do it because he has done it before. The top teams in the conversation anyway, like the Mets and Cubs, yeah. I mean, look, Framber, he's still going to go and get something from a top team. I'm not going to rule that out. Freddie's also a great dude. Yeah, he is. Why didn't the Orioles try and steal Bellinger from the Yankees, given their unwillingness to increase their offer much? We know the ownership has the money for Bellinger and Framber. It's a good question. We talked about it a lot on this show, how Bellinger could really help, but some people didn't think he was worth it. Some people did. Maybe their internal scouting didn't think he was worth 32. I don't know. From my stance, I wanted a proven guy who's failed in this league and he's won an MVP and then failed and then got better. He's been through that adversity, and I would love to have him in my lineup. But it is what it is. And I'm with you here, Chantel Holland. Need another bat. 100% need another bat. I like Harrison Bader too. Framber here is good against lefty batters, which O's see a lot of. Yep. That's where we disagree, and that's okay, but I say Dean's are 3 or 4 right now. I think the rotation's in a good enough spot where that 3, 4, and 5 don't really matter right now, in my opinion. I think they're all pretty close and comparable where you could throw any of those 3 in those spots in the lineup, and I think you'll have pretty standard production from all 3 of them in any one of those spots. So yeah, Dean could be the 3 or 4. I think half this fan base heads would explode if that was the case. But you know how that works. Matt Liberators isn't really an option, right? Depends how much you want to pay. Everybody should be an option for this team. They should be. Still miss Burnsy to this day. I know he had Tommy John, but imagine Bradish, Burns, Rogers, Baz, and Kramer and Eflin. That'd be nice. Very nice, honestly. The catcher Framber crossed up was a career minor leaguer, called up to an injury replacement to a catcher, told Framber to step off and started to meatball up, got mad. Yep. Just a very bad idea to bank on anything at the trade deadline, given how many teams. Right. I completely agree with you, Justin. Get it now. Get it over with. Do I have any hints? No. I think he got back into what he was doing, turned his account off, so we haven't chatted a whole lot lately. He works in baseball. He doesn't work for the O's, and I think he got back into that job and probably legally had to kind of turn things off. So nothing lately. We'll see what happens when we interview the front office person next month. They said we touched on this last time, but in spring training, we're going to interview somebody in the front office. And we're going to go over some things and we're going to have a good time. So maybe we'll hear something from them. Maybe some things will be done by then. We can kind of talk about it, but we'll see. What do I think Mike Schilt brings to the organization? Experience. And I was reading his article the other day, how he wanted to stop being the principal and go back to being the teacher. Mike loves teaching young guys, and he teaches things the right way. He's still a hard ass when he needs to be, but he's a big, lovable guy too that just really knows the game of baseball. That might be one of the more underrated coaches hires that we've made this year. That's a big time thing. Mike Schitt is good. Now, if he sticks in the dugout or if he kind of roams the upper minor leagues, I don't really know exactly what the role is going to be. But either way, I think he just helps the organization big time. Rick says, Rory, I'm thinking 3 at $100 million might get Framber. That's a good number. If I was Elias, who am I signing to finish off my free agency? It's a good question, man. I would guess it's got to be Framber. I know pitcher-catcher relationships, being a former catcher myself. They're weird. Shit like that happens all the time. I could tell you plenty of stories from when I played, but I don't know. I don't think it's as big as a deal as other people are making it, but listen, these front offices see it as a big deal. They may know more than us that the public hasn't heard of. So that's always something to keep in mind too. Maybe it's a lot deeper than any of us even know. Who knows? If a pitcher costs 4 or 5 prospects in the offseason, imagine how expensive they're going to be at the deadline. Good point. Very good point. Do I think Ryan Mountcastle gets traded before opening day? I see no spot on him for the 25 man. I think he's a guy that you would probably hold on to over Kobe Mayo if it came down to the two of them, because Kobe has options where he can go down and still get a consistent at bats, where Ryan is probably going to be better off suited not playing every day and then getting some at bats here and there. So I think there's definitely an opportunity for him to make the opening day roster. Gallen's the Boris guy. Framber's not. Okay. I did see that there was an article saying that as of January that Framber moved over to Scott Boras, but I have to look into that. I think that would have probably been a little bit more stated if that's really what happened. Starting the 26th season without a top of the order pitcher, as we were told. Hope not. Look, I've said it before, Bradish is the number 1, but I think people want more than that. Do I think Craig and his staff would be better than Hyde and his staff? I do. I think these guys teach the game the right way. We heard from when I interviewed Ben McDonald, he would say that, when he was in spring training, things were a little slower and they didn't train as long as he would have expected them to. So I think Craig kind of gets them back to that old school fun mentality again, and it gets some things going here. I think we're going to have a better defense too, which is going to be a big thing. The Orioles finished last place again. Mike Elias is definitely getting fired. At that point, I think you have to. There's no question there. No question. Rick says there's no way that does happen, though. They're going to compete for the East. I agree with you, Rick. I think they do compete, but I don't think they're wrong. If we do finish last, that's got to be the end of Mike's leash at there. Jabba says, what do you think Elias did to make why didn't he make a bigger push for Peralta or Gore? We don't know what they requested. We heard pretty early on that they were involved in Mackenzie Gore. They have no idea what they requested. They could have been being dumb with us. Maybe they've requested even more than what they've requested at Texas because, the whole Masson deal or something. We have no idea. Maybe he did try hard and it was just not worth it. I know prospects are suspects at times, but you really have to trust your internal scouting. And if they say no, we think this guy is more valuable long-term than acquiring this guy, you gotta trust that you hired these guys for a reason. Are they right all the time? No. Are they wrong all the time? No. So you gotta trust your gut. And maybe they did push for it, and maybe they just asked for guys they just didn't want to let go. I don't know. There's a lot of things that come down to. Can't wait to find out that he didn't because he failed a medical. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? You don't think Verlander, Bassett could be Morton all over again? Listen, anybody could be Morton all over again, no matter their age. Charlie just happened to be old. Anybody could come here and just suck. Framber Valdez could come here and suck. Ranger Suarez could have came here and sucked. Screwball could come over here and suck. Like that, it's baseball. Like guys sometimes do suck. They go through bad spurts. It's just how quickly can you recover from it? That's the big thing. Charlie took a little bit longer to kind of recover. Obviously, Screwball's stuff is pretty freaking good. He probably recovered pretty fast. But any one of these guys in free agency could come here and just start off terrible. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. I think we all have to be prepared for that. You would hope it doesn't happen that way. Everybody wants to get off to a fast start. But bad things happen in baseball sometimes. Heston would have been fine if Clay Holmes hadn't plucked him. He was red hot, and then it happened on an accident. I don't disagree with you. I don't think my O's still go for Valdez or Gallen. I do too. I do too. Hopefully. Definitely Team Bader. I like Bader. Bader the Gator. Him and Pete Alonso were teammates. Yep, that's right. I heard the stuff about JoJo Mara. Has that settled? I think it has. We haven't heard about much. None of the Rangers prospects were in the top 100, so I doubt we could have beaten that deal. Maybe. It just depends, man. Maybe they didn't want to give up a top 100 guy for Mackenzie Gore because of his second half collapses and stuff like that. There's a lot of things involved. This is the first ever stream I've been on with you. I'm happy. I appreciate you. We try to get on as much as I can. I got 3 kids. I can't get on all the time. Usually when there's something to talk about, though, I'm on. But welcome in. We got a great group around here. You're going to fit in just fine. We have a lot of fun around here. I appreciate you being here. Do I think Sammy catches 2 times a week or serves as a DH? I think that's probably fair. 2 to 3 times a week is pretty fair. All right. Deet says, Elias has shown he's willing to put money on the table. The next step for him is to better pace his aggressiveness and know when to pull back and choose his moments of aggression. I think so. That's probably his last step. Like I said, we talked at the beginning of the show. This is his first dance with all this stuff. I wasn't expecting him to come in and be experienced at it. I think he's done a decent job, but he's obviously been beaten out by guys with experience. So we'll see. He can only get better from here. O's and Danny Klum reunite? Maybe. I think I wouldn't be against it, but I would like somebody that throws a little bit harder, just for the sheer of throwing hard. But that's just me. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up tonight. I appreciate every one of you that stopped in here tonight. We've been talking for a long time here. I'm getting pretty tired, and I got to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. So we'll see. But again, I appreciate every single one of you. Rivalry Sports sent this $2 super chat. Thank you very much. This was our first stream ever over on Instagram. I think it went pretty well. Pretty happy about it. YouTube always popping off like crazy. I appreciate every one of you guys. Twitter, 1,000 viewers on there. So again, thank you. Hopefully we hear something soon. We can get back here and talk about it. Hopefully it's Framber. If it's Zac Gallen, we'll come in here and talk about it. If it's Giolito, doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it. But for the sake of the Orioles and for the sake of this fan base, hopefully it is Framber. And we get something fun to talk about. But I'm going to hop on off here. And I will catch you guys later. And hope you have a great weekend. If you're in the East Coast area, hopefully you're well prepared for the storm. Maybe we'll get bored and just come on here and talk about that while we're all buried in the snow. So I'll catch you guys later. Have a great night.